So I guess the problem is that life, passes so quickly, and the problem of too much time is a fallacy, as it does pass so quickly. I mean, this idea that you are able to put a day off and not do some small thing towards getting further along in your life, creatively or otherwise, I think is one which is hard to grapple with when one has to think about how long one will be dead, which I think overrides the idea that you are going to be um, having time to waste in this regard. I mean, not that one can really waste time, because I don't think one can even use time either. I think it's just what it is. It's not really a navigation of the wrong and the right in this way, or an appropriate or inappropriate use of time. I think that's a very neoliberalist, or just a very capitalistic production line level type stuff where everything is regulated and everything is controlled and everything is like that. I don't think that you need to perhaps think in that way, because it does lead to a certain spiritual dissonance, which I think can be easily overridden by this idea that you can simply choose not to engage, perhaps in that way, uh, with this way of thinking about what am I doing with my time, what am I doing with the life, in such a way as if you were wasting it, or as if you didn't know how to fill the days. I mean, you can do whatever you want to fill the days. That's the whole point. That's the whole pleasure, and also is the whole pain of the problem. So I don't know. I would just sort of think to myself, well, maybe that's part of it. I think therefore, like, to wake up and just do something, anything to continue your creativity and then start, I think is more important. To continue then start, like to use something from someone else, or to use something from some level of intellectual or creative stimulation, whether it just be even just a recipe in a book or something like this, something really seemingly rudimentary, but from which you can springboard off. And I think that's important, because then you can continue that sort of upward trajectory movement rather than having to just start somewhere. And it's very hard to build up to whatever you think that might be. And I think that's part of what I would say about that, in terms of this idea that you don't know what to do with the time, or that the time is too much. And I think and that's the challenge, is to actually create a cohesive body of work over your life, or over whatever period you give yourself. But I think that's part of it, really, is is that idea, definitely, that you need to create with a lot of emphasis upon the creative act daily, and break it down, rather than having this sort of very grand idea of a kind of how do you say, like, that you have to do everything, and it has to always be pre-conscribed and pre-done, and you have this very set image of set idea or sound of what you want to make or do, when I think it's rather more organic, even for things which seem terribly contrived. I think they are rather more organic and prone to different forms of development, and different forms of trying to expression is what really at the core of it you want to do every day. But I think in that multitude, that mosaic of expression, you would have at the end something that resembles a body of work. And I think that's sort of what is more important anyway, if there is any importance anyway, if that makes sense. And therefore, I think from that, idea of the body of work. And every day, each day is a step of progress, an expression, a reconnection with meaning, right? With the meaning that you find for yourself in your creative output. And I think that that's really important, because I think that that's the only place that you're going to find it is, of course, inside. It's not going to be outside. Um, and I think meaning is found in doing. It's not really found in thinking. It's really found in just doing something, which is something which I found a long time to process as well for myself. It's quite difficult, yeah. And do you think that therapy would be an inspiration, or do you think it would take your inspiration, sorry, and your creativity? Do you think it could be undermined by therapy? Because I question that as well. I think, could it be? And if there is a chance that it could be, I'm not really interested in therefore pursuing it, because I think a lot of the things which fuel creative expression, if it's not a positive, which hopefully it is, but if it's not, then it's going to be a negative. And so the negatives will be, these complex emotional states of jealousy and desire and sexual tension and all of this sort of stuff. I think that's appropriate that would be the case, because that's what life is about. Um, but I would I would ask you that question: if you went to therapy, would it undermine would it undermine your ability to create? I mean, if your demons left, would your angels go with them? In your from your mind, with the things which cause you to want to figure out stuff cerebrally and instinctually, would those things, those dark forces, those dark shadows, would they be evaporated through therapy? But would not with them be taken perhaps the angels or the muses, for lack of a better word, with them? I mean, that's my question to myself, but also just to this idea of therapy and the creative construct. And what are we supposed to do now? It's just do. It's just do. I think it's just do. Yeah, I think this idea. Your last question, which was, what are we supposed to do now? What am I supposed to do now in life, etc. But I think it's really rather simple. I mean, again, it's more. It's less about questioning. The older I get, and we questioned a lot, and questioned a lot, of course. But I find that it's actually less about questioning, and it's more about doing. Just do, experiment, try things. Different jobs, different forms, mediums of creative expression, different ways to kind of engage with reality. Dress differently. That's a really easy one. All of this kind of thing. I mean, it's not super complex stuff, but I think it's a good idea to try to see what works for you. What feels right. Like we were saying about this idea of the instinct and the intellect, and do what feels right rather than what is right for the intellect. So what's right for the instinct is generally better than what's right for the intellect. But I guess my last thing would be to say, well, like if you have to make a decision about something, is a question I always ask myself is, will I regret not doing this when I'm 80? Will I regret not, I don't know, going overseas, or will I regret not getting, I don't know, some sort of a job, or will I regret not creating that music or that piece of art or that writing, even though I don't really have any talent or any skills, definitely not any skills. So I question that because I think it's more to do with expression, and I know I have expression like you were saying about the melodies, and I think I have it too. But there's that divide between what it is that you want to do or say, and then actually doing and saying it and articulating it. With that, there's worry about what other people are going to think now or in the future, or any of this sort of nebulous stuff. because you don't know. Everyone's going to hate everything and they're going to like everything at the same time. It just depends when, where, how, etc. So you don't know, and so you might as well just create something because you feel. And this, again, the difference between this and this is that you feel it, and therefore you choose to express it. You know, like for me, the pyramidal structure of precedence is simply at the top. It's that for me, it's more important to be creative. And the next one down is I use my instinct, and then the next one down is I use my intellect, and then the next one down after that perhaps is what do other people think of me, and factoring that in generally to my life when I go out the front door or post things like this, right? But those three things have more precedence than that fourth thing. So they can't. That's why I'm not unaffected by other people's, looks or opinions or whatever of me or what they think of me. In the sense, because I'm a human, so it's a biological construct that we're socialized in this way, and it's a survival thing. But I don't. I just choose to. I choose not to be too. I'm trying to choose to not be too neurotic, I should say, and so I'm trying to put a precedence in terms of what I to reconnect with myself right after all of the everything that has happened in my life, especially the last 3 or 4 years. And I think that's more important than 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 sort of being obsessed and not obsessed, sorry, but so over concerned that I don't do anything, or I do very little because I need it to be perfect, or I need it to be this, or I need it to be that, the writing, the whatever. And so yeah, I just find that that's easier to just sort of, man, just wing it. I mean, it's life, Like we're only here for like a limited season. It's not forever. So I don't know. Carpe diem, as much as you can. Memento mori, amor fati, same old thing. Amor fati, especially for you, I suppose, where you are now. And in a way for me too, like lockdown in the sixth lockdown in the city, it's like, yeah, definitely feeling that, yeah, amor fati. And then, like I was saying to my friend today, I don't have an indoor plant. Like all the Val generation have these like what's it called? Like the indoor plants and pot plants essentially. And I said, oh, I don't have that. I've got a skull next to my bed. But and that's my thing. That's my memento mori. And carpe diem, yeah. Well, I guess you try to do that as much as you can. And carpe diem is even just waking up and just scribbling something, or just playing some note. I mean, because of course at the core of it, we're only ever going to be outsiders. We're only ever going to be outside our creatives. We're never going to be in, because it's very hard to get in, and it's all rigs and da 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 da, all this stuff. So it doesn't really matter to even really conceptualize thinking about it too heavily. But I think, yeah, you can just be yourself, and that's enough, really. I think so. I mean, if you can be yourself in a world where it's all about replication of this kind of commodification of the self, of the flesh, of the idea of what is, the perfect, pretty productive economic unit in a sort of biped form. Well, I think that's not something that is ever going to be my shtick. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I was thinking to try this with the video thing because I'm just having a go at YouTube recently, just have fun for shits and giggles, because I'm just like, hey, I'm in a lockdown. What else am I gonna do? So I thought I'd send you one just to have fun. So I might not send you another one ever again, but I just thought it'd be kind of cool just to check it out, have a go. Anyway, hopefully you're good.